Hey guys, what is up? It's Dusty here and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Crypto News. And oh boy, do I have a story for you guys today. So today's video I want to split up into three parts. First, let's cover a little bit about what's going on in the crypto markets in terms of prices. Then I have a main story that I think you guys will be finding very interesting. And then at the end, we have some crypto news that isn't necessarily part of the story, but it's still very interesting to know about. Having said that, if you're enjoying these daily crypto videos, make sure you press that like button and let's get going. So first of all, today's been a negative day for the markets. Not too bad, but roughly about 2% down on average. Bitcoin is down 3%, Ethereum is down 4%, and XRP is down 4.5%, with Bitcoin hovering just slightly above $20,000. And out of the top 10, Solana is doing the worst at minus 8%. Looking at the charts, XRP, or actually Bitcoin, sorry guys, just had a critical breakout. I actually wanted to tell you guys about this pattern just before the video started, but I guess I'm a little bit too late. And over on here, we can also see it has broken through critical support over on our Fibonacci levels, as we took it from swing high to swing low. And as you can see, we're starting to break through now. We've, however, also covered before what our range was looking like, and the moment that we got rejected over at the $21.5 thousand mark, I told you guys the moment we don't break above this level and get ourselves the confirmation, the most likely way we're going to go is right back towards $20,000. And again, the moment that we break through, we're actually going to open up a short position all the way towards 19.1, and we're going to do all of that over on Bybit, which is the exchange I'm personally using. Right now, there's also an $8 million team competition, and you only have a couple of days to enter, so I highly suggest you do so. But for all of you guys that are quick thinking, all right, quick-witted, there's actually another crazy profit opportunity in the short term, and that is actually with the token that's launching fairly soon, again, over on the Bybit Launchpad. I highly recommend you guys to check this out if you have not done it yet, because this tends to do really well. These tokens that launch on Bybit tend to do really well, and one is launching in about a day from now. Go check it out over on Trade and then over on the Launchpad. It's called OBX, and again, I cannot guarantee anything, but I'll be buying into it, and I highly suggest you guys check out exactly how this stuff works. A little side note, by the way, for all of you guys watching right now, I'm going to be starting a very big giveaway campaign. In a couple of days from now, I'm orchestrating the exact reward, but I know for certain it's going to be more than $10,000 that we're going to be giving away. I'm making it right now. I'm thinking of what exactly I can let you guys do to enter, but stay tuned for that. And now let's head on over into our main story for today. All right, I'm excited. So first of all, billionaire Mike Novogratz predicts recession, issues an alert for a specific sector of crypto markets. He literally thinks an overall economic recession will follow the current crypto recession, and he says the US could deal with an economic downturn through the end of 2023. Quote, "My instinct is 18 months, maybe even a little shorter, because I think the Fed is going to have to pause hiking rates by the fall, and I think that will get people comfortable to start building again." I have a little counter to that though. Take a look at this. And at first, I really thought it was satire. I really thought this was a joke. But looking at it now, I am not so sure. 23 million Californians to get up to $1,050 in inflation relief checks. Yeah. It is not looking as if we're going towards the right direction, as the printer has been turned on yet again. It is, really? The checks are part of a $17 billion relief package that will also suspend the state's sales tax on diesel fuel and provide additional aid to help people with rent and utility bills. Really? It's funny because, you know, I'm from the Netherlands. If you guys don't remember, I don't live there anymore, but I used to live there. And it's funny when they're talking about $6, $6.3 per gallon, when I'm thinking, I think here it might be over $10 a gallon. I honestly believe so. I think it might actually be $12 a gallon. Having said that though, right now it's all the talk about a recession. And I honestly think if we're going to pull this back to crypto, the easiest no, not the easiest, but the most interesting question to answer or relate is, what are the effects of this economic recession in the stock market going to have on cryptos? And it's hard to say. It honestly is. Lagarde plays down recession risk, says ECB is ready to move faster on rates if needed. Well, at the end of the day, this moving faster on rates in any one of these statements is kind of false. At the end of the day, guys, I've told you guys this a couple of times before, but if you know market cycles, then you know. At the majority of points in the cycle, you don't know you're in a recession until it's actually there. Like right now, if we're just taking an honest look, right, at the stock market and how it's performed over the last couple of months. I'm trying to see if I'm lagging. I'm lagging a little bit. It's again due to freaking heat and not having proper air conditioning sometimes. the computer just overloads. MacBook Pro, stupid ass thing. So if you look at the stock market and look at it for the last, let's say 6 months or so, in a couple years from now, we might look at this and say, yeah, that was actually the big recession, even though it didn't last that long. Maybe if we don't actually go on a crazy uptrend for the next 6 months, we can definitely say that this was the recession time because we, for example, decreased in price by 40%. And it's not really hitting because it's such a slow moving process. But again, if you look at it, for example, from distribution phase all the way up to accumulation phase, well, this might, for example, be a 30% decline in this time period before we actually start to increase again. And at that point, you might have actually not noticed it because maybe every single time you're like, oh no, this is just a, you can make all these arguments because again, there's a little bit of an upside every single time. There's also Kathy Wood, ARKS Invest Kathy Wood says the US is already in a recession. Well, in my opinion, there's surely something to be said about both sides. She said, we think we're in a recession, Wood said on CNBC's Squawk Box Tuesday. We think a big problem out there is inventories, the increase of which I've never seen this large in my career, and I've been around for 45 of them. We were wrong on one thing, and that was inflation being as sustained as it has been. Supply chain, can't believe it's taken more than 2 years in Russia's situation. Of course, we couldn't have seen that. Inflation has been a bigger problem, but it has set us up for deflation. Well, I guess with news like this, deflation surely ain't coming. But this is literally crazy. I'm not even believing this, guys. Please confirm down below if this news is real. And oh, this is the bottom here. I kind of want to cover that, but I guess I shouldn't. This is such an interesting situation, though. She's sentenced to 20 years in prison. Interesting. All right, but moving on, relating it back to crypto. You might think, okay, recession talk, this is so bad. This means if the US stock market gets into a recession, then all these cryptos are most likely going to fall. And I don't blame you for having this thought. But let me relatively, put this into perspective here real quick. Even if that is the case, right now, relatively looking at the past, it is still a ridiculously cheap spot to buy yourself these cryptos. Honest talk, right now the prices are pretty damn low. And that is again, relatively. Will said, Bitcoin is incredibly cheap right now. It has only traded this far below the 200-day trend and its aggregated cost basis for 3% of its entire existence. And I also urge you guys to look at the longer term and the longevity of these things. Some articles I'll show you guys in just a second are going to kind of put into perspective just how much the crypto space is growing. But again, Wells Fargo just released a report stating Bitcoin is nearing an inflection point for the hyper adoption phase, similar to the internet in the 1990s. And again, you can see the Bitcoin chart, which is the top and right, relatively to the internet chart, which is bottom and left right here. And you can see, yeah, it is pretty similar, even though a lot of charts move like this. But it's also logical in thinking, yeah, Bitcoin / crypto as a whole will most likely have some crazy exponential increase as time moves on, because already the increase of the last 5 years has been astronomical. But then over the next another 5 years, most likely will be crazy. And actually, Chris Burns, also from former ARK Invest, is actually in on that. Crypto will surpass 3 trillion again and do a 10x by the time we are rolling into the 2030s. And I honestly agree with that. Again, this model kind of proves it as well. It's very hard to predict how things will look over the next 10 years because if you look back 10 years, back to 2012, for example, for Bitcoin, how many people thought the Bitcoin eventually reached $70,000, for example? Not many. Most likely not more than 100 people actually thought that that was the case. And then look at where we are today. Look at how far this crypto stuff has grown. It's actually funny, but Bank of America also agrees with us. Bank of America says crypto winter concerns haven't frozen investors' interest. But what they're actually saying in the report is blockchain tech, this cryptocurrency stuff, is the most significant evolution of software since the internet. Again, please refer back to how the internet has grown over the last, I guess 25 years or so, 25, 30 years, and then think about crypto again and how early we still are in the adoption phase. I always tell you guys, you're still extremely early. One way to kind of measure that for fun is how little you can still use a lot of these crypto stuff and how small the blockchain usage is for really simple problems to fix. We talked briefly just now about supply chain. Just one thing that I want to kind of remind you guys of. VeChain, for example, is one easy fix for a lot of supply chain problems. Cardano could kind of come in there as a clutch, but so can a lot of different blockchain technology, or I guess just fintech companies, or actually just a lot of companies can come into play utilizing blockchain technology. And the fact that it's so little used, I think mostly has to do with the fact that it's just not been explored enough. It's too scary. But as time goes on and people get more familiar with it, I think the expansion is going to be quite rapid. But there's a little bit of a snowball that the moment that it goes, it starts to go quicker and quicker and quicker. What we also described with McCaff's law before, if you guys remember that. However, luxury watchmaker Breitling starts accepting Bitcoin for purchases Not a big fan of Brightly myself personally, but they're working with BitPay, and that's becoming a crazy provider. They're starting to get everywhere. All right, and now for the side story. I hope I can put some timestamps below. Chainlink gets a listing on Robinhood with the price rising 9%. That is interesting, but not that big a deal. It gets a whole lot more interesting though because of this news right here. FTX was actually rumored to try and buy Robinhood. Now it's been said, however, by FTX, it's been debunked. The rumors of a merger or acquisition conversation with Robinhood. Crypto exchange FTX denied a Bloomberg News report that claimed the company was in discussions with Robinhood, but had not yet to make an offer. It says right here, we are excited about Robinhood's business prospects and potential ways we could partner with them, as Bankman-Fried did buy a 9% share or something like that in them. That being said, there are no active merger and acquisition conversations with Robinhood at the current moment. But I think this is the talk of the town, partially also because FTX has been laying a helping hand on some parties that are in some trouble in the crypto space right now because of liquidity issues or bankruptcy issues and whatnot. Talking about bankruptcy, talking about all that money. Terra Labs had $3.6 billion in stablecoins potentially used for price manipulation, study shows. I don't want to go too far into this because it's really hard to put this up as a fact. It's more so speculation. But the rumor of town right now is going around that Terra could have surely saved I guess the whole system if they wanted to. Researchers found that Terra Labs had close to $3.6 billion in USDT and UST that may have been used for price manipulation or money laundering in centralized and decentralized finance exchanges, according to CoinDesk Korea article published on June 28th. During the study, CoinDesk Korea worked together with blockchain security company Upsala Security and used on-chain data forensic techniques, which allowed them to investigate the collapse of Terra after the incident on May 7th. In addition to uncovering that the collapse may have been the result of an inside job, they conducted additional on-chain data analysis to track the flow of undisclosed funds worth about $3.6 billion. As the article explains, Do Kwon disclosed utilization details for Terra, UST, and Bitcoin through his SNS or Terra Foundation. For instance, in the events of the UST depegging, the company would try to preserve the price using the funds it holds. However, upon examining the on-chain data, analysts discovered that the source and the user's history are unclear for the crypto wallets directly owned or managed by Terraform Labs and the Luna Foundation Guard. The sludge funds they found this way amounted to about $3.6 billion in UST and USDT. On top of that, the analysts discovered that these funds may be used for price manipulation and money laundering of the old Luna, now Luna Classic, in DeFi and centralized exchanges. It's an interesting thought. And last but not least, this is a little fun article. White Rock Management launches Bitcoin mining facility in the US. It's said in this article, it's the first Bitcoin mining facility deployed in the US, which I don't really understand the terminology for that. The first Bitcoin mining facility in the US? Absolutely not. Or maybe, I guess, White Rock Management's first Bitcoin mining facility? Or a Bitcoin mining facility is something that I'm just not knowing the exact meaning of. However, the operations will use environmentally friendly services to produce Bitcoin, which looks like it's going to run by a little bit quicker. And that's actually a fun thing. Proof of work banning is actually kind of stupid because even though it's a really harsh way to make sure the money is I guess, handled properly, let me just say it like that for Bitcoin, right? Proof of work is kind of useless to a certain degree. If it's with renewable energy, then the whole argument of, no, it uses too much electricity is kind of taken out because why would it matter if it's just renewable anyway? But yeah, I'm not so sure. I never knew that this is the first US-based Bitcoin mining facility. Maybe it's the first Bitcoin mining facility in Texas's Brazos Valley region specifically, because I've heard a lot about freaking mining facilities over in Texas, so I'm not exactly sure what they're talking about. But apparently they're going to be using some waste to fund all this. I don't really care too much though. I just wanted to kind of bring it up. I was like, huh? What? The first? Doesn't make sense. But it also showcases the fact there's a lot of trust in the Bitcoin/crypto ecosystem from a lot of parties out there. Otherwise, you would have seen that they've just set up shop or they've basically closed down another facility. But no, they're still expanding on that and still they're trying to mine more and they're trying to become part of the network, which I think is kind of funny. But yeah, that was it for today's video. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you press the like button and subscribe. It's been interesting to watch the Bitcoin price move. But I'll hopefully see you guys again shortly in another crypto video, most likely somewhere later today.